Hey people, I got a little rain last night. My turtle come to visit. It wasn't enough to put my fire out. I had cut this red oak out last weekend and I've been burning the limbs on top of this stump and hollowed it out and built a little oven out of it. This is the best way to get rid of unwanted stump. I had cut this pine tree off here about 20 years ago, and that's why it dried out and burned out. But that's the best way to get rid of a stump out there that you don't want. It was growing up through my blacktop and giving me troubles turning trucks and trailers around. So I'll burn it out from the inside as much as I can, then I'll cut the rest of this stump and roll up on there and burn it out. But this is the easy way to remove a stump. What I did, I knew I had this old pine stump that would burn pretty good on this side. So when I cut this down, I just cut a couple slash marks down deep into it. Just enough I knew it would heat up and get a little air flow through there. I knew it would start burning. So I'll throw a grill on there and throw some burgers on there this evening. And hopefully tomorrow morning all that stump will be gone. I picked some of these wild blueberries from my turtle. He wasn't interested. He comes for the bread. These come about a month and a half after the huckleberries. And my wild grapes like that little bit of rain too. And my yellow squash liked that a lot. It bloomed out to see that rain. And I want to congratulate Mark Carter for making it all the way to the end of my seems like pointless yammering to get the treasure out of it. And I don't put a whole lot of thought in these movies. I see something that I want to share, and I always learn something while trying to make the movie. I catch something else and turns into a bunch of pointless yammering. And a lot of movies I don't even finish. I find something else while I'm making it, and I just go ahead and drop it and go reading something else. But I see you're interested in Egypt, so this is going to be the move for you. You know King Djoser, he's the one that built that oldest step pyramid, they say it is. And he was just so wicked they had to erase his hieroglyphs. He'd been stricken from all the ancient records, and you really have to dig to find him. And so Djoser was his Christian name. He didn't get this name until the Christians visited. He went by Net Jeriket. Several of the ancient writers wrote about him, and they say he was a king who was wise, ruler of Egypt, and claimed the Copts, that's the ancient Christians, that had a feast in his honor, the Vine Festival. But there's a large page here on him on Wikipedia, and they just opened his tomb up, and there's a page on his tomb tells a lot more about him. And if you want to know some more about him, you can get it out of Isaiah 53. This is all the top secret stuff they didn't want to tell you. But his mama was a Zuni, that's the Hebrew word for a whore, and his father was a Macrobian. And this word comes from from, and acro, like an acrobat on your tiptoes, out on the edge, acro, and an acrobian. The giants, the Macrobians. And so Macrobian doesn't mean giants, it means they lived out there on the edge. But Herodotus says that they were really big people. The Macrobian ruler was elected based at least in part of stature. They wanted a big king. And Pliny says that they were known to be tall, handsome warriors. So I noticed this in the Hebrew, Isaiah 53. I was reading it down, and it's talking about the grave assigned, and it's all written in italics, talking about the wicked, and that's Djoser. You see the tack here. You read this backwards from Mjosr. And it's talking about, his cover. What's on the cover? The cover what? And so it's just these last four lines, 9, 10, and 11, 12. So I'm making this to try to figure out what part of his name that they had erased. So all this yammering is me trying to learn. And I'll probably have to put all the Hebrew and the Greek. Like I say, it's not a real big chapter, just 12 lines. And have to put them all side by side before I get it. But, at the first line in the Hebrew, it seems that he wasn't pure blood, and he was all in backwards, I and M-I-N and M-I-N-G-L-T, and all mingled. So maybe they were wanting to cover up the Zuni part of his name. Or maybe this was the first of the names that were put in a Shen ring that they tell you to read the middle and then the top and then the bottom mingled. But I told you long ago, this Gillette, you see it come up one time when they shaved Samson's head. And you'll see it when it says, don't uncover the nakedness of your mother and your sister and all that, the same word, where it'll be apocalypse in the Greek. And you see over here in the Greek that it's almost apocalypse, but it's a little different. It's a peck and a pickle of thee. And so a pickle of thee is, and men began to call on the name of God when they were in a pickle, when they were drunk and their head was hurting. Oh, I'll never do that again, and a pickle of thee. But at the top here in the Greek, this sinless lamb, it's to carry. To carry it is the fist whose. To carry it in the fist whose. You see that in his symbol in the middle. It starts with the middle. You read this, and the top, then the bottom, And so to carry it in the fist whose. And he's got this in his fist. And they say this represents power. And I believe it represents the adra, like a Gillette, another name for a adra, a razor. And carry it is the fist whose it a coach 'em on, a coach, K-O-H, double H, reading as an I, a coach 'em on, and a brachion. And so he sounds like a tax collector, from the mafia. You're going to pay your taxes or I'm going to break your arm. R-A-C-H, and I-O is an E-N, breaking. And of the breaking, what's getting broke is your arm. To carry it is the fist whose, the coach 'em in, the coach 'em on. And of breaking, to carry out in, the one that does the breaking of the arms. To carry out in a yap pickle of thee, in you, in the pickle of thee. And over here in the Hebrew, it's my Haminals, mutton wiser, we who wholly mingled. A haminal is, ham is an exaggeration of a hymenal. A haminal's writings of mutton, the sheep, the shepherd, and double vobs. Y is wise, visor, like a Budweiser, visor, and the O-I turning into the E. So this is a we, who, and holy, H-O-L backwards, Y, and then M-I, and mingled. And so this mutton here, the reason I caught that, it's real close to smut, S-M-U-T, which is these are the names of the sons, in our report, and S-M, coming from names. But this is the mutton. And down lower it gives a whole bunch of words for sheep, which is usually just the exon, and to be like a sheep is the ka, to give the exon. And then it comes up as lamb, like saw, and this is the same base word Moses comes from, or the one they say is Moses, but it's just another word they'll say is sheep. When it's the occur, a chill upon, And so, the different languages in Europe, the French called the animal what it was when it was on the table. So this means that it's a French report. And my Hymenos of the mutton, my report of the sheep. And then the double vav here is W-Y, wiser, visor, to watch over, the sheep visor, fancy name for the shepherd watching the king's sheep. And the O-I turns into E, we. And my Hymenos, the mutton visor, we who wholly mix and wholly mingled. We mix with the holy blood. And so all these fancy writings of the shepherds, it has nothing to do with shepherds. It has to do with astrologers. And, the probate, that's where the word probate comes from. It means prove it, P-R-O-V, to prove it. And the planet men, the prove it, the planet men, and the planet. So they'll try to tell you that planet is an ancient word that means wandering, but no, plan means we have a plan. We know where that sheep is going to be at this time. If they told you in school that your word plan comes from an ancient Greek word that means wandered, and you believe this, you are a sheep. So in the Hebrew on this cover, there's a sign grave. It says that they made his grave with the wicked, but his death was with the rich because he didn't do nothing wrong, no violence he had done, and deceit not in his mouth, and he did not lie. And so he was killed for telling the truth. And this isn't so much lie, but this is marm, to teach in pie, in the mouth, teaching a language. And so what it says on the cover, they couldn't find his body, his casket in the tomb. It had already been robbed. 2,000 years ago when they wrote about it, it had already been robbed. This is writing from Isaiah. It says that this is what was on it. It says, who tenant, a tenant is somebody who lives in there. But if you just tenant, you're there, not necessarily living. And who tenant, and they made with, and who's here, and who tenant, and then backwards, from Djoser, J-O-S-R, from Djoser's, and then the O-I becomes E-M, them, from Shem. Djoser's Shem, and name, a Shem ring, is what your name goes in. The wicked from Djoser's Shem. It's like he was the first to have his name put in his Shem. And who tenant from Djoser's Shem cover two vowels, why at, how at, who at, rises her in mit of all ya, and all ya SM names and comes. And not just SM names, but the S in secrets. And the secret comes. And comes sows who a lammer. A lammer is the word. Who lammer me in pie. Not just a marm, but a language teacher. A lammer me in pie. And why who each puts the cow, the chilium. And this is the base word for the leader of the army in the Greek, and death and kill and many things like that. It's where your word chill it comes from. Kill, the kill. And why who each puts the cow, the chilium, amidst the mysticism, as naps. This is naps as in thou shalt not sleep with your neighbor's wife, naps. And as naps, where is Ra, the O-I becoming an E? And where is Ra? Where is the sun? And Eric, This is the same place where America coming from, and Eric, to rule forever, he shall prolong Erica, America. And this is the Erican. The MIM reads as an N, so this is just the IN. And the long life, the prolonged ruler, the Erican. This is the one in the Greek that they're given a Macrobian. And so they're getting his seed, he shall prolong from this diphthong. The OI becomes the E or the H, the Harris, the Harrison, his heiress. But there's another diphthong here, and it's the YA. And I believe when you start reading the diphthongs, you read from the end, the back end, and work forward. And so you wouldn't change the OI into the E, you would change the IA into the U. And so it's naps where is his row, RO, the row where is in. His naps where his row where is in. And which puts you by do its luck. You shall prosper by do its luck. Luck is just a little part, but you still have to play the odds. You have to figure out where the stars are going to be. Is it your time to get lucky? And from a mill naps. A mill is the laborer, the manual labor. And from a mill naps. The manual labor is sleeping. The naps. And Y, or WIRES. And Y rest. WY meaning how or who. And RAE meaning rest. And who rests? And that means, to relax, to rest. And you see it up above. I'm going to show you. And the naps who rests is bobbed too. It's stiff, it's dick. Justify its righteousness. It's stiffest dick of dealer in 'em. It's stiff dick of dealer in 'em. It means I fucking fight till midnight. Drink and drive to daylight. And it's it's dick of dealer in 'em. And vow, a vow not 'em. Your iniquities. You're dealing a stiff dick with no vow. A vow not 'em who. And ain't married none of 'em. The way civil. And two can a half. If your Hebrew instructor told you to pronounce this Ahelek, you're an idiot. If it means a half, and H means to divide, L is of the subject you're dealing with, and Q is center. If you divide something center, you divide it in half. Not Ahelek, but lack and a half. And lack and a half, and backwards, will, WL, will over M. What? And then same thing, MIM becomes an N. What nuts? NUX is an NUTS. What nuts? And oxen, OXUN. And then followed by a I, making that an ing, an oxing, half, a slit, SLITET, and half slit it. Azure, whore, a limit, naps. Who at from Joseph, JOSP. The transgressor is Joseph. And from Joseph, Shem, SHM. Joseph's name, Joseph's Shem ring. And you know how I say that the E following the M turns that into a B? You got it right here, the NMB, the numbered. Why at from Joseph, Shem, Num, who the watched. Who the watched. The watched 'em. And who the watch me Barbie. Watch my Barbies, watch my little girls. of a mensalipsum effigy. My barber men's will officium effigy. You know, the officium, the official, FSEM, the officium, in an effigy, a representation. So I'm going to watch this again and see what I pick up out of it. But I wanted to show you this word here again, where it was the rest up here, R-A-E is R-E-S. It used it up here where, you know, you see it twice when you see him, and the beauty from rest. And when there is no beauty that we should desire him, that's when rests in the double vav will, and then the AE is becoming an ES, and will his arm, ARM, and when rests will his arm, and then rests, will his arm rest, when come do. Not just lacking beauty, but doesn't desire to have one at this time. But you see how they write, you know, when rests will his arm rest when come do. And so it appears that Djoser was the original Jesus. He was a teacher, and he was teaching things that they didn't want taught. Main thing being how to read the hieroglyphs, how to read the writings. And it looks like that's what it was talking about here, you know, in the dipsos, up in the dip songs. They all, there's nowhere to learn this. I just figured this out from doing this. All the letter combinations that change, the KE turning to a LE, the YA turning into a U, the double A turning into a YA, and things like that. Usually double vowels that change up and are read different and are hid as, and they're not as their appearance, they're hid, HID, the hidos, and the dipsos of lesson, and lesson, and in as in B as in hid as, the dipsos lesson in hid as. And it seems that this is the lesson on learning the diphthongs and how the letters are hid. You see this cross here, you know, and of the deducts, the documents, the deducts, and hid them in. You know, the documents are hidden in the dipsos. And it appears that this is what he was telling off, was without honor, when he went to all ya to hid as of do a time on, the hiding the time on, hid as of to a time on, and the cliff on para, on over who you stone, on drop on their opposing pledge, you know, for calamity being, this is a beating in the Hebrew, you know, in the pledge takes the beating, and hid as appearing, appear hein, a Malachian, you know, in the Hebrew, Malachian, that's either kings or angels, Malachians, the angels, book of Malachi. So they say that Sambo is a racial term, derogatory label, but they do this to all the words that they don't want us using. But I'm pretty sure it's where your word Uncle Sam come from. This black dude over here holding this Unc, this was your government. This was Uncle Sam. And I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.